Hey everybody, today I'm here to talk to you about Laurentian's financial troubles that were announced just last week and what that actually means for Sudbury and the housing market here. So stay with us today. I'm actually going to share my top 3 reasons that what the overall outcome will be based on Laurentian's insolvency problems at the very end. Hey guys, Dave Kurt here. I'm the broker of record with Lake City Realty in Sudbury, Ontario. It's been all in the news and I've got so many friends that are from out of town texting me and sending me messages and just saying, what is happening with Laurentian University? It's not been a great week, 2 weeks, and for what sounds like a few years. Internally anyways, from that perspective. LU at the beginning of about a week ago now announced that they are in bankruptcy protection. And what does that mean? A lot of the students are worried, a lot of the graduate students are worried, a lot of the professors are worried as well. But what's happening right now is it came out that Laurentian has so many internal issues and is not able to actually even pay the bills. They've got about what I call runway, which is about cash in the bank to pay the bills. They've got about 30 days left of operating runway where they could pay the bills and then they'll be out of money, which is just crazy to think that this could happen to a university like Laurentian University. But what's happening here is to address the short-term measures, they've done some amazing things, and they've kicked off this bankruptcy protection so that things can they can come up with a solution in an interim and actually push themselves forward. Because the biggest question they're trying to ask right now is there a future for Laurentian University? The first few measures that they're implementing right now is, so with bankruptcy protection, they've actually hired a mediator. That mediator is taking over their books and dealing with the Laurentian University, the unions, as they try to figure out some of the issues of payroll and some of the expenses on that side and try to come up with new contracts for some of the teachers or some of the professors. They're also, in addition to that, they've eliminated the Freedom of Information Act, which I found pretty interesting. I didn't realize they could do that. And at the same time, they're trying to get a loan for about $25 million, which is called the debtor in possession loan. So that's going to allow them to have operating room till the end of April to be able to continue day-to-day activities. So it sounds like by the end of the day today, that interim solution should be figured out, whether they're going to be allowed to go ahead with those measures. And if that is, that's going to at least give them a little bit of time to get some immediate solutions going on to what the issues are at hand. But there is actually an amazing a blogger that I came across when doing some research on this from Alex Usher, and his company is called Higher Education and Consultancy, and he's basically an online consultant that deals with education and higher education. On his blog, he comes up with a thought of the day, and he's done 4 different parts to this story, and I'll share that link in the story as I've got a lot of value out of it myself. He kind of details the biggest things that went wrong with Laurentian University, and from an accounting standpoint, and I'm an accountant as well, I hold a CMA designation, it is so mind-boggling to think that they dealt with one account. They had one bank account for all expenses, whether it's paying salaries for teachers, if it was receiving grants from the government, if it was student academic people paying tuition, if it was like paying benefits for the professors that are there. Everything came out of one central account, which is just, again, it's just completely shocking when we're taught in school is that like money should be designated for things, and if I give money as a donor, I would say that I want my $100 used towards athletics, and that should be earmarked for athletics. Now they can usually use the interest on that money for other things, but not actually that money that's been set aside. But clearly that hasn't been happening, and it's again mind-boggling to think that they don't even have enough money in the bank to pay those benefits and salaries and those grants that the government has given some of the professors and the researchers to be able to deal with some of the projects that are at hand. So clearly some big issues, but they have to figure out that with the accounting systems in the background, and that sounds like something that can be figured out. They just need to be able to come up with a plan to address it and actually implement that plan. But the 3 things that went wrong with Laurentian that this Alex Usher breaks down are the professors. I've got lots of friends that are professors. This is my alma mater here, so it hurts me to say this, but professors were being paid too much money, and when they say too much money, they're comparing it with the provincial averages. So we're not even at the top end, we're not at the bottom end, we're about midway through. I know a lot of times they're using and referencing the McGill University, which is actually on the lower end of the spectrum, but our professors are paid kind of in the middle between the upper end schools and the lower end schools. When we compare ourselves in the north, we're much higher than North Bays, we're much higher than Thunder Bay, so we're much higher than some of the smaller schools in the north. But on that grand scheme of Ontario, we're about in the middle mark, and they're saying that the professors of the universities need to be dealt with first and foremost. The second big measure is we had too many programs. Most of their revenue actually comes from a few core programs, and I think if you take out the top 15 programs or something like that, that accounts for about 80% of the revenue. Apparently there was programs with 3 or 4 students that were enrolled in it that were actually going ahead and they were running. Clearly that's an issue if you only have 3 paying people that are enrolled in a program, and that's and you've got professors, you've got overhead, you've got lots of expenses that go with running a program. So that's another issue. But the third issue that comes up is the idea of foreign students. And this is this was my alma mater, and I remember going there and I thought Laurentian was doing a great job in recruiting foreign students. On Laurentian's website, you can go and you can get a snapshot of some of the numbers, and the number that they have there is 2017, and it's actually less than 400 undergrad students out of a pool of about 6,500 students. So it works out to about 6% whenever I did the math on it. And the interesting thing with this Alex Usher's blog that he did is he compared Laurentian to some of the other schools and in Ontario, and he said, what's the benchmark for growth in foreign students? And the reason foreign students are so important is the revenue a foreign student will pay is much beyond what a local or like somebody from Ontario or somebody from Canada would be paying. So from a dollars and cents position, it's much. There's much more revenue that's attributed to having a foreign student than there is having a non-foreign student. So that's why playing this foreign game has been important. Laurentian University rose at about 14%. They increased that foreign student enrollment, and in the province over that same 2012 to 2018 time period, 47%. So our 12% growth versus the provincial average of 47% growth, clearly we weren't keeping pace with some of these foreign students. So if you add all 3 of those, the professors making too much money, too many programs, and not enough of these high revenue paying foreign students, that equals the financial troubles that came. And sure, COVID is easy to point to and say, well, we're in a position where we don't have a lot of people applying, as many people applying, we're not able to run courses. But basically all COVID did, according to this Alex's blog, is it fast-tracked 18 months in the future what was going to happen, what was inevitable by looking at their books anyways. So lots going on. But when we take that in, again, from my perspective, I'm the real estate, I run a real estate company in Sudbury, and I want to know what's the effect it's going to have on the local marketplace. First and foremost, we look at the idea of the clawback. So people that are making good money, maybe their salaries are going to be frozen or even reduced. And there's some jobs that instead of hiring more revenue or more staff coming in, those people are either going to be eliminated or they're not going to be hiring in the future. So those things are all at play. And typically, where do professors live? They live close to the university, and they live, which is in the South End. And they're not in first-time home buyer houses. They're usually middle tier or upper end homes. So there will be a gap in the marketplace for those type of homes. So does that mean that nice executive homes in the South End are going to go down in price? No. And the reason is everybody wants to be in the South End, and everybody that grew up in the South End that's my age now and is stepping up. I had buyers out that were looking for that step up home just this morning. Those buyers will fill those steps, and especially when they realize that their first time home in an older in Old Llewellyn or in Old Lockerbie area has increased $150,000 over the last few years. That's going to be their motivation to step up and go jump into that marketplace instead. So there will be more demand for those homes that maybe not as much demand as would be there, but that demand will be picked up by a ton of people in the marketplace. I'm aware of it right off the bat. I know that's going to happen. The second part of what's happening though, in the effect on Sudbury, is if the university is able to pivot, able to kind of implement some of these changes and kind of, work their way forward, which I think one of the biggest issues they're going to have is brand. Because if I'm a student in Ontario thinking about where I go to school, Laurentian looks a whole lot less attractive this week than it did even 2 weeks ago. So they're going to have some issues with internally with brand to try to get over in the short term. But if they can get over that, and I'm hopeful, maybe me being the eternal optimist, but I'm really hopeful that they will get over that issue. I think that they're going to have to do their part to really go after foreign students. And what do foreign students mean? That if they kept on pace with the rest of Ontario with that 47% growth, that would be 300 additional foreign students that would be coming to Sudbury. The other part of this is if we actually get a shortfall in Canadians and Ontarians and Sudburyans that are applying because of the damaged brand, that foreign students might even need to be higher in that short term to make up for those numbers in the interim. But if we kept pace with the rest of Ontario, that means there's an additional 300 foreign students coming to Sudbury, and they're not buying houses. These people are renting, which is going to put more pressure on the rental market in Sudbury, and more pressure on the rental market in Sudbury means prices of rentals are going to go up. And what else goes up when price of rent goes up? Multifamily properties go up. And we're already in this chaotic environment where multifamilies have gone nuts, absolutely nuts. So there's a lot going on there, but just to summarize my findings, if Laurentian can pivot, if they can get their short-term stuff figured out, they're going to be dealing with some brand issues and clearly some accounting issues that they got to get a little bit more discipline on the back end. But if they can get over those short-term hurdles, what I think are reasonable to get over, they've got a plan of action in place right now. I think that they need to maybe do a little bit better job with their board of directors in terms of, maybe like having a better understanding of what's actually happening, a full picture, because apparently a lot of this was just happening at the top level executives. But if they can get this stuff figured out, which I'm very hopeful they will, they've got 3 problems to solve. Those 3 problems are professor salaries, our number of programs, and our coming up with a strategy to attract foreign students. If those 3 things happen, then what's going to happen in the marketplace in Sudbury is we're going to see a short kind of like a flatlining almost of like growth for executive homes in the South End. That's going to be made up, I think, of some of those people that will take those opportunities to jump on those people that are from Sudbury that aren't professors and maybe in a different industry altogether, but they'll take advantage of those opportunities to jump into those voids. But the biggest part of Sudbury is rental prices will be going up if we come up with a decade-long plan of increasing our foreign students, especially for the university, and multifamily properties are going to go up with that. So that's not great news for people that are sitting on the sidelines frustrated with rent prices already. I know as soon as we post a Facebook ad out there, the trolls come out in their masses and they're so frustrated with prices of homes, prices of rentals, or whatever. But it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse before it gets better from that perspective. So rental prices are going to go up, multifamily properties are going to go up because those things are tied to each other as multifamilies trade on what's called the capitalization rates, which equates down to what they bring in for rent. I know that was me talking a million miles per hour. I hope you stayed with me today. I tried to cover as much as I can. Definitely take a look at that blog below that I'm going to reference. There was 4 great articles on that. I took a lot of value added. This is my alma mater. I'm a Laurentian student. I met my wife at Laurentian University. I'm proud to be from Laurentian University. I really hope that they can make it through this. I'm confident that they can, but there is like 10% of me that's very nervous about what the future looks like there. Hopefully we were able to give you some value, guys, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.